On October 5th, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, which included Russia, agreed to reduce oil output by 2 million barrels per day. There are enough barrels to meet 2% of the world's oil demand. And the consequences for economies in the United States, the United Kingdom, and around the world could be disastrous, with the United States and the United Kingdom already on the verge of recession. The recent increase in oil prices may exacerbate their already dire economic situations. That is why the United States is responding with a no big bill, as it is dubbed. Furthermore, the United Kingdom's government has implemented a policy known as price capping. In a nutshell, the outcome of an oil war involving Russia, the Middle East, and the West will determine the fate of the global economy in 2023. And this demonstrates their willingness to crush the US, UK, and global economies in 2023. What's going on, everyone? Before we get into this, make sure to like and subscribe to InvestoPads. So if you're ready, let's get started. OPEC is the acronym for the group of countries that export the most crude oil. This oil-producing bloc includes Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and 10 other countries. In 2016, several new countries, including Russia, joined OPEC to form what is now known as the OPEC Plus group, which accounts for more than half of the world's oil exports. The question now is why and how reducing oil output will benefit OPEC Plus. They are the source of the supply and demand mismatch problem. Let's use an example oil requirement of 200 barrels to illustrate. If there are 4 oil-producing countries, the price per barrel will be $30, and each country will pump out 50 barrels. So, $1,500 was being made in profit by each nation. So what would happen if one of these nations consciously reduced the supply from $50 to $10? Still 200 barrels are needed, but only 60 are available. Now, the other 3 nations could make up for the shortfall in oil production, but they have decided not to. The reason is that they can make $60 a barrel off of oil sales currently. So they'll still sell 50 barrels, but now they'll make $3,000 instead. And that's more money in your pocket even if you're distributing the same amount of oil. Now, if all nations cut production by just 10 barrels, they could raise the price to $70 per barrel once more. In the end, even if they produce less oil, they might still make $2,800 apiece. Because of this, changes in OPEC's oil output have far-reaching consequences. This is how normal folks like you and me are affected by the price of oil and the quantity produced. This is why OPEC Plus has reduced output by 2% at this time. This is just another way the OPEC Plus group exploits the world economy to extend its control over oil supplies. The United States faces difficulties in this area for 3 different causes. For starters, the situation in Europe is deteriorating and will continue to do so over the coming months. So if energy prices rise, the government will have to increase its borrowing, leading to the issuance of additional bonds on the market. And since bonds would be in lower demand, this would cause bond interest rates to rise. This causes investors to become pessimistic, which lowers the value of the currency and raises energy prices. However, this time is not just because of Russia or currency devaluation. It's also because OPEC Plus has cut oil production, driving up prices. Second, with US inflation reaching 8.3%, the United States is already experiencing a cost of living issue. Furthermore, this is the greatest inflation rate recorded in the last 4 decades. Now, if you look at the big picture, you can see that the rising cost of oil is a key reason why the economy is contracting, which has everyone scared. They are raising oil costs, which will only hurt the economy further and prolong the slump. The third reason is that a rise in the price of oil offers Russia more money to invest in the war. And this is why the United States is having trouble again. Russia made more money after the war because of these pricing increases. In fact, the average annual revenue of Russia from Europe in oil and gas from March to July is close to $50 billion. However, by 2022, this sum has quadrupled to almost $90 billion. This is why the US is moving forward with the OPEC bill. The United States could effectively punish OPEC for using energy as a weapon if this bill is passed. So the question becomes, what is the utility of this bill, and what leverage does the United States have? Now we know that this isn't the first time the US has proposed this law. In fact, it's far from the first time. And each time they brought this measure to the table, the Saudis threatened to veto it unless they gave in to their demands. Here's where it becomes clear how much influence Saudi Arabia actually has on the United States and the rest of the globe. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is the largest buyer of American arms. This means that although Saudi Arabia can afford to boycott the United States and instead purchase weapons from Russia, the United States cannot. It's a vicious cycle. And if the Saudis stop buying U.S. weapons, the arms manufacturers stop sponsoring the political parties. Then the parties lose their influence. Second, why is the U.S. dollar the world's most trusted currency? After a meeting in 1945, FDR and the Saudi king agreed to a treaty. The Saudis promised to only accept dollars as payment for oil, and in return, the United States committed to supplying weapons to and providing security for the Saudis. This is why nations store their foreign currency reserves in U.S. banks, which are eventually invested in U.S. treasuries. Now the total value of these bonds is $7 trillion, and the Saudis and other open nations are buying oil and dollars, which implies that the United States will incur a debt of $7 trillion. The lesson here is that if the Saudis begin selling oil and rubble, it will lead to the sale of trillions of dollars worth of bonds in the United States. Furthermore, the sum will be invested in Russian financial institutions, and this would result in a dramatic change of affairs. Because of this, the Saudis use blackmail every time we bring this bill to the table. And now, it seems we have some subtle clues that hint in a new direction. This time, it's not just the United States but all of Europe that wants to see oil prices fall. Furthermore, most of Saudi Arabia's imported weapons originate from the United States and Europe. Therefore, the United States and the United Kingdom are now in a position to threaten to halt arms sales to Saudi Arabia. The current state of affairs in the Middle East might spell trouble for the Saudis. And to add insult to injury, Saudi Arabia's army only numbers 27,000 strong. This means that the Saudis will be exposed if the United States pulls out its own soldiers and cuts off its arms supply. The United States isn't the only country with an oil pricing plan. The European Union has one too, and they are calling it the price cap strategy. And this method will now be employed for Russian oil, and in poor circumstances, it might even expand to the Middle East. Now, as long as oil is sold to Europe, all the European nations may actually establish a cartel. In addition, they may agree collectively to buy oil just at $60 per barrel and not a cent extra. The United States and Europe take the issue of oil prices very seriously, and if the situation in Europe over the winter gets out of hand, it will be because the Saudis are purposely manipulating oil prices. In addition, they will not think twice about going all in and imposing these same price caps on the OPEC Plus countries. This is the story of the oil wars that have been going on between Russia, the Middle East, and Western nations. So what are your thoughts on the oil cut issue? And how do you believe the US, UK, and other global economies can mitigate the risks associated with it? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. That concludes this video. Thank you for sticking with me until the end. Before you leave, please like and subscribe, as well as click the notification bell to activate YouTube's algorithm and see more of our videos on your homepage. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for more interesting videos like this.